Does mom have a name? Does she have a face?
Welcome back to Does Mum Have a Name podcast. I'm here with Nicole. I'm Deb, and today's topic, which is really interesting, is women in the workplace.
Yeah, we've been getting a lot of messages from mums out there that are struggling navigating their, I guess their time, trying to do full-time,
Yeah,
manage families and, manage bosses too. They feel like they're trying to navigate everything. So we thought it might be a good topic today to talk about and, yeah, get into some of that. But before we do, I thought we'd talk about Deb. Do you want to tell the listeners your good news?
yes, absolutely. I've had the pleasure of being offered a role with an amazing organisation, Capability Support Services, and I accepted that just recently. And it is clinical operations manager. And the reason, like, apart from the absolute opportunity, amazing opportunity, the reason I accepted it was because of the values and the vibe of the organisation. It really resonates with my values. So I'm very excited, Nicole.
Yeah, so
New chapter.
it's a new chapter, but still in the behavior support sector,
Yeah.
still overseeing behavior support and especially with all the changes and that going on with the NDIS at the moment.
Yeah.
Interesting, how that
So
plays.
it is going to be around more that, the compliance and helping the rest of the team understand those legalities and help them navigate that. So yeah, I'm pretty keen.
Yeah, no, that's exciting. Can't wait to see where you take that and
I
you
know.
and I saw that your new boss is amazing. She's quite active in the behavior support scene and yeah, I think you guys are going to be a great fit.
Absolutely. And her, if you want to have a look on the website, her story is just amazing. But I don't think it's very different to a lot of other women out there, Nicole.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's really nice to have that bit of a tribe that have that experience, that lived experience in the system, the area that we're in. Um, yeah, so it's just amazing. I'm really excited. I could ramble on, but I'm yeah. Let's talk about this topic.
So before we move on, what is the name of the company? And we'll put a link here so people can go check it out.
Absolutely, capability support services.
Yeah, awesome.
So
Yeah, guys, go
yeah,
and yeah, we'll keep track of Deb when she starts a new job. And yeah. All
yeah.
right. So a couple of weeks ago, we actually put out a post asking for people to get back to us and tell us what they struggle with the most in the workplace as mums, which was really interesting
Mm,
feedback we got. And I feel like if we went back, you know, to 1950, for example, I feel like the issues would be exactly the same. Like it's yeah, navigating families, navigating children, navigating bosses. Like,
absolutely. And if we go back to the 50s, it was typically that the mums were at home, but we've come a long way. We've got so much to offer the world
we have,
as mums,
yeah.
you know.
But yeah, one of the things that came up a lot with that, although, the mum and dad both worked in the families, the mum was still required to come home and do all their tasks
Absolutely.
typically be done if you were a stay-at-home mum. So they're still required to cook all the dinners, keep the house clean, whereas a few mums had wrote in and said that their husbands feel like because they work all week, they don't need to, do the cleaning on the weekends. And the mums are like, well, so do I. I work all week too. So why do I still need to come home and, cook the dinners and clean the house? So I don't think that's changed. Like over the years, I feel like we're still struggling with that dynamics of,
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. It hasn't changed enough at all because you're so right, Nicole. Not only are the mums or the women of the world typically taking care of a household or a family, and then working as well. So they're just adding on. They're not dropping anything,
yeah,
you
no.
know.
So one of the other things, so I've got examples here that people were sending in, but so one of the other things, a few of the mums had said that they'd suffered was micromanagement in the workplace, where
Mm.
they were given a role and then, having someone oversee that role, every single decision, and that was something that they really made them question their ability to do the job, which would make it
Oh,
really.
it can erode so many factors of that staff member, their confidence. So what's your take on all of that, Nick?
The micromanaging part.
Yeah, the micromanaging.
Look, I think, if you're running a company, obviously, you want to be involved in decisions and you want to be, part of that decision making. But I feel like if you employ someone to do that role, then at some point you need to have faith in your decision and step back and let that person, make those decisions, because there's nothing worse than having someone micromanage every single decision that you make.
Yeah, definitely. In the workplace, definitely. It's as I said, it erodes so many things. It erodes that relationship between, your manager and yourself, and resentment starts growing. You can be as positive as you want, but eventually it's going to catch up with you, that micromanagement.
Yeah. Have you ever experienced that, Deb? Like in any of your jobs?
Look, you know what? I've been really blessed because in my career, I probably have only experienced that a couple of times. And I've been able to talk to my manager at that time to say that just doesn't work for me,
Yeah.
you know. One manager, so I've had two experiences that have come to mind. One manager accepted that and went, oops, sorry, absolutely, totally get it, stepping back. Whereas the opposite happened with the other one, became even more micromanaged. And again, that eroded the building relationship that was happening, that relationship that I was building or we were building together. And resentment did come into it. So yeah, absolutely. And with my own teams over the years, if they've come onto my team, they've got some skills and assets. They don't need me to be micromanaging them.
Yeah, exactly. And it kind of brings us to the next point that was brought up, is that bosses with no self-awareness. That was something that came up
Yes.
time.
I
And
think that's even more prevalent.
I do too. And I have a perfect example of that, like in a job that I had. They had several people going to HR telling them about what they were experiencing and the abuse in the workplace. And they would even though getting all that feedback and all that, people leaving, they would still stand back and go, we don't know what's happening. Why are people leaving? Which was crazy to me because you've just had so much feedback as to why. Um,
Yeah.
so that was probably my worst experience of that, seeing that firsthand.
And it makes me wonder then, Nicole, is it a cultural thing within the organization? Like I'm picturing two things. Did HR honor that the people that come to them, or are they being dismissed? And I
Well,
don't know.
problem because I had requested that they employ someone as HR, but then they turned around and hired a friend, an internal HR person. So then that really dismissed everybody that was coming to them, because instead of
It
taking,
blurs the boundaries.
no one was taking on the feedback, no one was acknowledging what was being said, and then that meant that a lot of people left. But and then they still stood back and said, well, we don't know why people are leaving.
And
Yeah.
that's the thing. Good staff, good team members, they're gonna vote with their feet. They're gonna leave.
No, that's right. And I saw something on LinkedIn recently that said that, train people up that they can leave, but treat them so they don't want to leave. And I thought that was a really
Absolutely. I love that.
close. Okay, so another one was something that I've experienced too, which is positive love bombing. Have you ever experienced
Oh,
this?
oh, that's interesting. Tell me about that.
So that is when the bosses are sending you messages like, we're a family, we're a team, even in your worst day, they're sending you messages going like, you're so amazing and we're gonna get this done. And and you can tell that it's false. It's fake.
And I've got a suspicion, yeah, I was going to say, if that's false and fake, what is that saying about the boss's personality and traits?
Yeah, it's saying that, we'll bring it out when we need to, when we want to reel our
Yeah,
employees back in and get them to where we need them to be. But I mean, at the end of the day, like, we're not family. Employment is not family. And I feel like it's
absolutely.
when somebody will throw that around and go like, we're family, we're, like we're all in this together, and we're all a team. And there's one thing about encouraging teamwork, but it's another thing to put us in that category of being family.
Absolutely. I, you know me, Nicole, I'm a bit of an introvert. I want to be part of a team, but I don't need to be socializing with my team. And I do know a few colleagues that have gone through that where socializing was an expectation of the team. And oh God, I can hear my friends telling me now in my head. I'm just thinking all these stories, and the socializing wasn't appropriate. So when do we have a choice to go, I am part of the team, I'm not family. I've got my own life. I've got a lot to contribute, but I've also got some other stuff myself.
I went to a job interview and it said that we had to do like drinks or we had to socialize. I would be like, nope, that's not the job for me. Yeah, I don't do that. That's just not how I work. So I agree.
No. Have you ever been like that? Like, do you feel like when you were a little bit younger, because you're young, but when you were younger, did you feel like pressured to be part of that? And now you're a little bit older,
Oh,
there's been some changes.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I probably could have masked more when I was younger. Like I could have been a part of it, but I would have been exhausted when I left. So
Yeah.
I have enough experience and I guess confidence now to stand up and go, no, like I do not want to be, I don't mind socializing as in like if somebody said to me like, oh, all those everyone's getting together, we're going to go out for dinner and it's going to be like a team building thing. Great. That's awesome.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But something like let's go
Yeah.
play sports together, let's go play, those kinds of team building exercises. I'm like, no, I don't need to do that. I do my job well. Like, no, no, thank you. So
I know.
I think that comes with age, it comes with confidence. I think
Mm.
what we would do when we're younger, just to be part of something, we don't feel like we need to do that when we're older.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's a really good point. So, yeah, that could even be a whole nother subject for some younger mums,
Yeah.
battling that as
Yeah.
well.
Don't give in. Stick to what you believe in. I guess the other one that came up a lot was a lack of respect that women are feeling in the workplace, in the home, and I guess just in the in their environment. They're just feeling, not respected. They're not feeling like they're able to give each part of their life, 100%. It's like 20% here, 20% there, 20% there because we're so tired.
And I don't think that's even just connected to the boss relationship. That could be anyone in the organization and that you would get that from. And I think that would be very prevalent too, because you'd have a hierarchy. So, it really isn't just from your boss, it could be from anyone. And that lack of respect again erodes your confidence or erodes your passion for being there.
Yeah. And also disrespect from husbands, boyfriends, not
Oh, yes.
not I guess giving their job the respect that it deserves. That was another thing that came up. One lady said that she just felt that her husband dismissed her job, that it wasn't important,
Yeah.
it was as important as his job, which I'm sure a lot of
Yeah.
women go through, you know.
Well, what I was going to say before is we're dealing with a society, we're dealing with our culture. Okay. So whether that's in the workplace or whether that's at the home, the family, being standing up to any of those cultures is very brave.
Yeah.
especially, you know, when you're feeling like the minority, because in some cultures, all of these things we're talking about, and I'm talking workplace cultures, not, you know, so and it does come from above, unless the owner or the founder or the organization higher ups aren't aware of it, and that's another problem in itself.
Oh, absolutely. I agree. I think it's you know, another thing that came up, which is surprising because I thought that, you know, not I thought I was kind, you know, when you kind of feel like you're the only one experience something and then you read other people
Yeah.
like, okay, I'm not the only crazy person out there, but as dressing for the workplace, it's something that I've always struggled with. Very sensory for myself, clothing wise. Um,
Mm,
Women feeling like they're not able to either dress up as much as they should be for the workplace. They can't afford to buy the clothes that they need for the workplace. Another thing was just, you know, like feeling like they're disadvantaged because they're not able to wear certain clothes to the workplace. I don't know if you've ever experienced this, Deb. Most of my jobs have been work from home, so it's
yeah.
blessing for me. But I have in the past, you know, struggled to kind of fit in, I think, in certain work.
Yeah. With your sensories.
Sensory, clothing wise, I do not like shoes. You know, I've worn very,
Yeah.
I think since I was 19. Um, you know, and then just get very like overwhelmed and overstimulated, I think, when I'm wearing like certain clothes, and then that takes the focus away from what I'm actually meant to be doing. So
And you know what? That absolutely, because I'm just reflecting on a day that I had. It was, you know, we're in winter and it was cold and I was layered
yeah,
because I'm out on the road a lot, Nick. And I was layered from, you know, toe to head. And when I got home and I took a few things off and it was still a bit chilly, I put a coat on and just sort of wandered around the house and did what I had to do. But then I started to feel really agitated. It was like, no, I've got to get this off. Like I've been like this all day, cocooned in clothing. So in winter, I can tell you, if I could walk around with shorts, I would put the heater on just so I could walk around in shorts.
same. Absolutely. That's exactly what I do. And I also have this thing where if I go out and say I go to work for the day, as soon as I get home, I need to have a bath or a shower. I have to disconnect my day from my nights. Um, and I find it really strange when people don't do that. When people will come home and sleep in their work clothes, I'm like, I don't understand how you can do that. But and it's actually a thing. I saw it. It's actually there's a name for it when you have to come home, put your pajamas on, and then that kind of, yeah, disconnects your day from your night. So
Yeah, and I've always loved that about you, Nick. You've been able to do that, and that's a really good, you know, that's a tool for anyone. Just and when I first heard you talking to me about that a few years ago, it was like, that's brilliant. Just get rid of the day, the outside world, what you've done, because I suppose essentially we're moving from putting one cap on to another cap on, and we've got to have that little bit of a boundary. So it'd be interesting to hear how others, you know,
yeah,
cross over from their work day to their family.
a little bit of like what we teach our clients too in the regulation stance of, you know, what do we need to do to, you know, bring calm to ourselves, you know, when we
Yeah,
I mean, even working from home, I still have that same concept where I still have to, even though I would tend to work in my pajamas most days, I'll still have to go and like have a shower or a bath, and then I'll, you know, get changed into clean pajamas, and you know, and then that then starts my night. So, um,
lovely.
but on TikTok, there's a whole community of women that are being diagnosed late with autism, and they all talk about all these traits that they have. So,
Right.
that I'm not special. I'm not crazy. Like there's all these women out there that are feeling the same thing. So, which is
Yes.
for me anyway. So,
And I think that's a common theme anyway, Nick, that even to with our listeners, I'm sure they're thinking that was all. I always thought it was just me until they hear about, you know, other people. So yeah.
as well, yeah. Okay. So another thing that came up as well was gossiping and negative comments in the workplace.
Mm.
Have you experienced that?
Yeah, look, I think that's really a common thing. I think that's a natural trait for some people. It's not always malicious, the gossiping, but we teach our young ones, particularly around that boundary of if it's not your story, it's not your story to tell.
No, I get
And I
that.
think a few adults probably should take that on as well.
Oh,
What
absolutely.
about you? Gossiping. Oh. Well,
Yeah,
sometimes you wouldn't even know, would you? Because,
yeah. I think working from home, you kind of, I guess you're not a part of that culture, like the office culture.
yeah,
Like I have found in a job where I was required to go to the office for several, a couple of days a week. I actually found it a lot harder to get my work done because you are entrenched in that workplace gossip and that I guess that toxicity that goes in when you're working in an office. And yeah, I definitely like working from home much better. I don't feel as exhausted from, when you go into an office. And um yeah, I don't know.
I,
I think it
I
happens every.
think if the manager or the team leader should be responsible for shaping that culture
Yeah.
because that could easily lead towards a very toxic workplace.
Oh, it does. Yeah.
And imagine what that does to the morale of the team. I can't even imagine, but definitely reduced productivity.
Have You'll suddenly have, 20 people quitting in a company because, they don't enjoy what's happening. And I heard the saying, a fish rots from the head. And I'd never heard that saying before. And it's so true in corporate and business. I think if you don't get things sorted from the top, it just gets worse going down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what that brings me back to, and I'm not sure what you were going to go on to, but do you remember when we first met
Yeah.
and we worked for an organization and we were actually kept apart?
Yeah.
We weren't even aware of each other.
And that was on purpose, I think. Just whatever reason, I'm not sure, but I know that that was something that was put in place intentionally.
Yeah. Yeah. So, interesting. But yeah, and look, that's one experience, and everyone would probably have so many, similar experiences or something, they could share with us.
Yeah.
So, what do you think about this gossip? Like, apart from eroding trust, which is a foundation of any organization, have you ever witnessed in your teams that you've been taking care of how that actually translates over to them as a human being and their mental health and their well-being?
Yeah, I think you see it more as you step into leadership. It becomes
Yeah,
kind of oversee it and you can see what it does. And unfortunately sometimes gossip stems from the truth. It's just being relayed through the office. And then sometimes you'll see it change. What might have started off as this then becomes this. It's so much bigger than what it was when it started. So I agree, unless you have someone there actually able to kind of rein it in. And I'm always a believer of like, if you've got an issue with somebody, let's have a meeting with that person. Let's talk about it. Let's
yeah.
rather than, spreading it through the office, because let's face it, we're all going to hear it eventually.
Well, that's right. It's going to come back. It's going to come back to bite you. And I like that idea. I think that's look, it takes bravery to be able to sit down with another person that you've got difficulties with. One, to share your side of the story, but also to listen to what they've got to say too. Very, very scary. But if it's done with the correct supervision with a team leader or a leader, it can be very productive as well.
Yeah. Oh, and sometimes you have to. Like I had an example with someone that I had working underneath me that I had heard several things that had been said from this person. So eventually, after about 3 weeks, I actually organized a meeting with this person and said, all right, let's talk about it. Let's, and it had turned out that, this person was just going on things that he had heard from other people. So it wasn't actually anything that I had done. Again, gossip. It was just gossip. So once we had the meeting, he said to me, like, I really appreciate that you've done this, that, I have so much more
Yeah.
you, as a leader, that you were able to do that and come to me and, were able to put it all on the table. So, and then we went on to have a great relationship after that. So sometimes you just,
Yeah. And I'm listening to your story, Nicole, and I'm thinking, yeah, but you've just got that beautiful way. You're very supportive and very thoughtful or mindful of the other person as well. Even though you definitely have those boundaries and you have to take care of yourself, you're always very mindful of the other party.
yeah. Oh, well, I think it's human. I think as humans, we need to do that because yes, it's a business. Yes, it's a, that's our job. But at the end of the day, it's our job to make sure that people are okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. And I think,
And you know what worries me about gossiping is where it could lead to. It can lead to, like harassment, bullying, them. So it's like a bit of a slippery slope, isn't it?
and it's very, yeah, if anyone's experiencing it in their workplace, like you need to go and talk to somebody. HR isn't always the answer because
They're not,
if
unfortunately.
reach out to, I don't know, a friend, if there's someone in the
Mm,
company that you can talk to, just talk to somebody about it because it can, you don't want to get to the point where you become where you don't want to get up, you don't want to go to work, you're too scared to kind of face that. And
yeah,
nobody wants to work in a culture like that.
yeah.
Yeah. So, and I guess the other one that came up a lot was, I guess employers ignoring issues. Women saying,
Okay.
going to their bosses, they're telling them what's going on, how they're feeling, and then it's being ignored. And then they're not,
Dismissed.
yes, then they're not feeling very valued in their position. They're not feeling very, supported. They're not feeling, and then that's when we start seeing people wanting to quit.
Absolutely.
So what would you recommend
Absolutely.
someone who's feeling not heard in the workplace?
I think we both could probably resonate with this. Nick, have you got an experience? Because one experience of mine comes to mind for me, and um, working with an organization that I absolutely love and adored, um, bringing issues to them, but it was months, like even a year of bringing the same issue up and having that chat, but there was no outcome. So essentially, I was just being dismissed, and I'm not taking it personally, but everyone that's listening to us, have a think about that. When you're putting something across to someone in your workplace, are you being dismissed?
Yeah,
And
well,
what do you do about that?
exactly. Like, are you being heard? That's,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, just,
And I think in our sector, we know how valuable every human being just wants to be heard, seen, listened to.
yeah, exactly.
So maybe that's just because there's hard, challenging conversations that not everyone wants to really have.
No. And you know what? I don't like confrontation. I don't think anyone likes
Yeah.
confrontation. So it's not easy, like you said, to go somewhere and go, hey, like we need to talk about this. Um, it's, but again, I think it comes with confidence and I think it comes with, building those skills to be able to have those conversations.
Yeah. And I think another thing, you said confident, it's very, you need, like just because you're feeling confident about it doesn't mean you're feeling good about it. You could be very anxious, very nervous, don't want to have this conversation.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, just because I walk into a room and I'm like confident in what I'm saying, I could be literally shitting myself. Like I'll be like all morning I'll be like panicking and having almost panic attacks about it. But when I go in there, I'm able to like do what I need to do. And then when I walk out, I'm probably sweating and I'm probably like, you know what I mean? Like I'm sure
Yeah.
we've all been there when we have to have those
Yeah.
conversations.
And it doesn't, you know, those sensations and feelings you were just describing, it doesn't even have to be a conversation that is necessarily negative, because I felt all of those things when I had to tell one of my contracting organizations that I was essentially moving on. And I felt sick, and I was like, I don't want to have this conversation.
That build up. It's that, letting it build up inside of us until we have to have that conversation. And it's not easy. And it's not, like you said, it's not just in the workplace. It could be with friends, family, we all have those moments with our families. Okay, so another thing that I thought we could talk about was something called breaking the myths around mums, I guess, in the workplace. So one of them
Yeah.
came up, said, "You're too emotional lead." How does that make you feel?
Oh, you know what? I see this a lot as a counselor, being framed as too emotional, but that's like being too sensitive. You know, this is someone that obviously has intuition, they're in tuned, they're just simply probably overwhelmed by an unsustainable load. So I think people see that being emotional is a weakness, especially in mums. They will easily go to that when it comes to leadership. But I think it's actually devaluing their emotional intelligence.
I agree. I think that we all have lives, we all have stories, we all have, a background to where we get to. And sometimes it's hard not to let emotions come into the workplace. And,
Absolutely.
especially for us, because we work in a field that is around human behavior. So, we both have children, we both have families, we both have, going through all those things. So, yes, I'm going to get emotional in the workplace, especially if I see things that aren't right. For me personally, it's kind of like when I see, I guess, kids with autism, being mistreated. Like I will always
Yeah,
feel about that because it's such a person.
absolutely.
So, yes, I can be a good leader, but I can also be very emotional doing it, and that's okay.
And you know what? Many of us are carrying very invisible stresses into the workplace. You know, we're managing kids, we're managing workplaces, we've got our own internal expectations. And then finally, when we actually express some frustration or even advocate for ourselves, it's labeled emotional.
Yeah,
But it's really a deflection tactic.
yeah.
People aren't really aware of how to embrace that energy in
No.
the workplace.
Do you think that if a man was to get emotional in the workplace, do you think he would get the same kind of response? Or do you think men kind of have it harder because women are expected to be emotional, men are not? So,
I think they would find it harder, but I'm not
yeah,
a man. But
yeah. But I was just thinking, like, if you saw a man crying in a meeting,
yeah,
how do you think women like we would respond to that? I mean, I think we would be like, I mean, we appreciate vulnerability, so it wouldn't be
yeah,
an issue, but I can't imagine a lot of people would see that, especially other males, maybe. Um,
absolutely. I think what you've hit is that we do appreciate vulnerability, so we do understand that. Um, Look, I think emotional insight should be seen as a leadership strength. So I would welcome that. You know, it's not like I would shun that. But then, like, I'm like you. I'm actually, for many of my years, I've been in industries that are very female oriented.
yeah,
We might have to get a male on and
yeah.
have a chat about that.
Yeah, because it's just that inequality, that gender inequality. We're talking about how we have it hard. And it just occurred to me like, if I cried in a meeting, nobody would kind of say anything. You know what I mean? No one would say anything. But like if a male cried, I feel like it would be a different issue. I don't know. But yeah, good point. We should maybe get someone on to talk about the inequality of genders and things. So The other one that came up was mums aren't ambitious. And I find this hilarious because I feel like you and I are both overachievers as mums, so this is just not relevant to us.
Okay. So what are your thoughts? Because yeah, this myth really does cut deep because I hear the grief behind it in sessions. Many mums are ambitious, but they're also strategic.
Hmm.
Okay, they're calculating the emotional cost of climbing that ladder.
Yeah.
Um, Particularly if we're going through a stage where flexibility can see, I don't know. I think flexibility is seen as weakness and within ourselves or something, but burnout's just really around the corner. So I have to tell you, I've got a little bit of a story.
Yeah.
This I had this role, a leadership role, and I was talking to the operations manager at the time, and the actual CEO was passing through and heard the conversation, and he said, "Oh, Deb, I didn't know you were so ambitious."
Ah, that would have cut
And
deep.
I thought, it did. I thought that it didn't resonate with me. I was just doing a job.
Yeah.
I wasn't, but then on the flip side, when I was climbing that corporate ladder, I actually had to, it's true, many mums also are ambitious, but they're strategic. I actually had to decide when my youngest was 15 that I had to stop climbing that ladder and come back home
Yeah.
because he needed me,
Yeah.
So at that time, I sort of felt, I thought I should have felt resentful because I was just taking off in my career and absolutely loved it. But I wasn't resentful because my core value was my family comes first.
Yeah. And that's amazing. I mean, I have a similar story too. I mean, when my boys were younger, I went back and I did my degree in criminology, which I did from home while I was caring for them, which was really hard. And I probably wanted to quit 100 times because it was so hard. And it wasn't the study that was hard, it was the navigating I guess, looking after two little boys with autism and then trying to fit in, full-time study. And then, when they were a little bit older, and then I got into law school, and then when my son, Dale, he was going through his things at the time, and, I decided I guess I had to quit. And it's always
Yeah.
something that stayed with me because you kind of feel like a failure a little bit. Like you feel like, you couldn't do it. But then I think back, like you said, like he needed me more at that point. Then I guess I always say like he needed me more than the world needed another lawyer. So, and
Yeah.
Dale still says to me now, "Oh, do you wish you went to law school?" And I go, "No, not now. I don't. I feel like I've ended up exactly where I needed to be." Um,
Yeah.
and and he's doing amazing now. So I do not regret that decision to stay at home and look after him. And and I'm in a great place. Like I have a great job. I have yeah, so I feel like I have to let go of that. There's no resentment, there's no guilt, there's no anything now because I think I just made peace with it. As mums, we just need to make those decisions sometimes and and just live with the decision that we make.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure there's
And
many
I
out
suppose,
there that have, had to do the same.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. There'd be many women in the cars would be nodding, yep, I had to make that decision.
Yeah,
But my boy now is 23 and doing well. We adolescent years, wow, they're tough. Even when you think you've done your best all through those years, they're really tough.
they are.
And I'm thinking about Dale, like I remember what he was like, and even though his core person is there, he's nothing like what he was. And kudos to you, Nicole, for to making those decisions. Not everyone will make the exact same decisions as you and I, but
Yeah,
they will make decisions that reflect their values.
and it's right
And
for them.
if they can if they can process that and get through that resentment or guilt or anything else that they may feel from the society, whether it's their family, their husband, their partner, you know yeah, work colleagues,
Yeah, you make the
you're
decision
not alone.
at the time, and and you're not failing. I just think you're diverting. You're just going on
Yeah.
a different path, and that's okay. Like we all have different journeys in life, so I think that's
Yes.
okay. Okay, so the other one was equality is already achieved. I find this hilarious, and I kind of think of Pixie, like when she talks about like the 1950s housewife and how things were different back then, and I think has equality
But
been?
she says, yeah, but she says not the values. Remember? She
Yes, that's
said,
right.
I'm everything 50s, but
Yes.
not the
Yeah.
values. So that was an interesting thing that she was brave enough to, actually share with us.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. Look, I'm a little bit, I grew up in a single mum household, and as I'm growing up in the 70s and 80s, I'm watching her compete in an industry with men, and she was a trailblazer. And when I'm saying compete with men, I'm saying um, she was a trailblazer for making things happen for women in the workplace, you know. So we don't tend to have as much as that now, but still, this perspective, equality is already achieved.
Well,
I
an
don't know.
interesting statistic that I found, it said that in New South
Yeah.
Wales, women earn 11.8% less than men, equating to 227.80 less per week than women. So
Right.
does that, even if we're looking at it from a financial perspective, is that equality? Are we still trying to get that equality?
Well, it sounds like it. It sounds like it. I think, again, because we're um, mostly in a female-oriented sector, um, and we probably, like, say the NDIS, we do have our price guide, which we all have to abide by. But now, what do you think about the corporate world or any other organizations that are mostly
I
around males?
think I have never felt less than a
Good.
male. Like I've always admired the men that I've worked with. Um,
Yeah.
so I think I've just been lucky. Like I don't feel that there is that difference in equality. I think I mean, I'm sure it happens, and I'm sure, women face that every day. Um, it would probably more, I feel like you see that more on like if you went on Instagram and you sort of compared your life to say someone else's life, I feel like
Mm,
that's when I would feel like the equality is not the same, because but not in the work.
definitely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
probably not in the workplace for me. But
And added to what you just said, yes, I absolutely value the males in our workspace,
yeah,
in through all of these last couple of decades, because it is so female oriented, and to find men that do come into our sector, it's invaluable, because so many of our children actually, in our sector, need male role models,
yeah.
really good, strong male role models, because it seems to be the women, and I'm sorry if I offend mums out there that have got amazing partners and husbands, but it does seem to be the woman that has to, carry all of this,
Yeah.
the child's behaviors, the child's appointments, dropping work to go to the school and pick them up again. I hear that a lot.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I think equality is like you said, it's not just the workplace. It's in relationships, it's in friendships, it's in family relationships. Yeah, it's all around us. So I think it's something that we're, I guess, still striving for.
I was going to say, so equality is definitely not already achieved.
Okay. No, good answer. All right. So I think, how do you think as women we can support each other?
Oh, look, I think understanding that we're all different, okay? So what our perspective is maybe not someone else's perspective. I think that's really foundational because that's where what opens up our understanding for someone else and providing that space for them. Like we do value vulnerability. So speak with your friends, find your tribe, talk to them, be open about it. I found myself, you know what I'm like, Nick? I'm not very much of a sharer. Like, I can be carrying the world's weight on my shoulders and not tell any of my close girlfriends because I'm just doing what I've got to do. But then my girlfriends around me have been teaching me and encouraging me. Instead of when you're absolutely at your wits' end, come to us, talk to us, let us know what's going on, even if it's just to share and get it off your chest.
It's funny, Deb, because like you speak without speaking, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. Like you
Okay.
I know when something's wrong when you don't talk. Like you actually retreat yourself. And like if I and I always know if I don't know how, but I always know like if you and I haven't spoken for a couple of days, it's usually because one of us is going through stuff and we're like, okay, just reaching out, is everything okay? So sometimes I think the communication is just that, it stops, and that's when we need to reach out and make sure our friends are okay. I
And I
forget,
do love that.
yeah,
I love that, Nick. And you definitely do pick that up. And I've got, another couple of girlfriends who would really resonate with what you're saying. They notice when I go radio silence,
yeah,
something's going on. And that's usually self-preservation for me. It's like the world is really big. I need some self-care. I'm going into my cave, you know. But the most invaluable thing that you've said that comes from this is reach out. I love it when my friends just go, just checking in, you okay? And I can simply say, not doing well today, you know?
yeah,
And that just means it might not mean that I'm in the pits of despair. It just means I'm overwhelmed, I'm overloaded. I need to calm my little farm and whatever that looks like. So yeah, reach out, guys. I love that.
yeah, reach out. I feel like for me, like, especially in my previous role, I feel like the way that I supported women in the workplace was like, when we have a meeting, let's have a minute to talk about how we feel, and that's okay, and that's validated for how that person's feeling, and then we move on to, okay, what do we need to do to fix this?
Yeah.
Who do we need to talk to? Because I feel like we need to validate our feelings. It's okay to feel that way.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah, I like that.
we just can't ignore our feelings and then think we're going to fix the issue at work because it doesn't work like
Yeah,
that's when we start building up that resentment and that like you're saying, like not wanting to get out of bed, not wanting to, we become less functional, I feel like, as women if we're not dealing with our issues. So
absolutely. And I love that strategy of yours, Nick, to bring it out in the open. Let's just do a check-in. Where are we emotionally about this?
yeah, how do you feel?
Yeah.
Then we move on to what we need to. So Um, I think, and the other one was like tips. I thought maybe you could give the listeners some tips for staying grounded while they're trying to climb, I guess, the ladder, whether it's a corporate ladder, whether it's, whatever field they're in. How do they do that? How do they stay grounded?
I think that one of the first things that you've highlighted is don't compare yourself. I think that's really dangerous comparing yourself. So stay grounded by like not looking at what other people are doing or where they've gone or what they've achieved or what their decisions are. Tap in to your own values. And even if that means, get leaning on a friend to just share how you're feeling about that.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and let that friend, like I've got a friend, Nick, who reminds me of what my values are, so You always do that, Nicole?
Yeah. Yeah, actually, we should share our conversation that we just had this week, I think, because I think so many women would resonate with this. So it was about, do I fit in, or do I, do I be myself and fit in, or do I,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
guess, I can't remember the way you worded it, but it was,
Authenticity.
yeah,
Yeah. It was
yeah,
about being authentic.
yeah,
And I was on the phone to Nick and I was telling her why I did something. And I heard myself say it. And I knew, Nicole heard me say it. And I said, I just want to fit in. Okay.
I was
So
like,
that comment,
yeah, do you,
sorry, you go.
that's when I was like, do you really just want to fit in? Is because you didn't get to where you are today by fitting in. That was my point.
Yes. So Nicole was coming from a very protective space of, no, Deb needs to shine her light. She doesn't have to fit in. Whereas at that time, I was actually, and I would never say that comment, I just want to fit in ever. But I heard myself say it. But when I was thinking about it and processing it, was because I valued so much about this particular thing that I'm talking about, this group, because it resonated with me. It's like, so the opposite would be going into something and trying to change the world. That was the opposite. I was basically saying, I really like what they're doing. That resonates with me. I want to fit in because I value it.
Yeah.
But we had those conversations over the next few days about what does that look like and what is authenticity. And you could hear it in my voice. You brought it up a few times, Nick. You were saying, I can hear the conflict in your voice.
Yeah.
And life is full of conflict,
Yeah.
but having someone to share that with, someone that knows you, someone that's non-judgmental and feel you've got a very safe space, that's what got me through that this week. Yes, I am fighting with conflict. Am I being my authentic self? So yeah, it was a very interesting conversation. Anything you want
Um,
to add to that?
I just was surprised because the whole time I've known you, you've always, I guess, preached authenticity. You've always been, be who you
Absolutely.
are, like shine your light. You don't need to fit in. So I guess when I heard you say this, I mean, I felt the conflict in you, like, because I thought I get it. Like we all need to fit into our workplaces and we all need to fit into our communities. And then sometimes it's okay not to fit in because I feel like you got to where you are by not fitting in. So my advice was don't start now. Just be yourself and then you will fit into that situation. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And can I just add, nothing is ever simple. While we were going through this, there were a lot of other mountains that I was climbing this last week,
Yeah.
emotionally and physically and, you know, family, community, work. So nothing is ever simple. If you're going through a stage like that, it's usually either affecting other areas of your life, or other areas of your life are overwhelming. So yeah, nothing is ever just one little thing. We're dealing with so many different factors in this world.
Oh, absolutely. So I feel like, yeah, on any given day, you probably wouldn't have been so open to fitting in, but I feel like because you were going through so much stuff, I guess you just became a little bit more vulnerable and you were like, it's a lot easier just to fit in. It's a lot easier just to, be a part of something. So, um,
That's right.
but yeah, I mean, at the end, you made the right decision and you're going to be amazing at it. So I think, yeah, you're going to be great.
Thank you.
All right. Well, I
What's
think
our next? All right, so I'm going to focus on women feeling unheard in the workplace. It's probably the least I've got experience on, but the most that I've witnessed recently. Um, I think it really does come down to that tribe that you've got, your colleagues, the people that get you, you know, because I've gone through a stage over the last 12 months where I had to keep bringing something up to someone's attention. and thinking that it was going to be resolved. And then months later, it's not resolved, and then bringing it up again. And if I didn't have my mates around me, my colleagues like you, and we're talking Chris as well, he's a male colleague of mine, just scaffolding, just supporting me, through that, like being that, what is it, that devil's advocate? You're always that devil's advocate. Find someone that's going to appreciate who you are, what you're trying to say, has no judgment. Surely in your tribe, try and find one of those people. Okay. And I'm not going to listen to people that say, I don't have one, because I made the conscious decision when we all go through stages and changes in our life. And I made a very conscious decision that I only wanted authentic, non-judgmental, safe people in my little circle.
Yeah.
So if you can find that, I know I'm banging on about that, and I probably should have been a little bit gentler, but find someone in your little circle that you can just be your true self, and nothing is going to be judged about it.
Yeah.
So why I'm saying that is that gives you a bit more energy behind keep doing it, keep raising these concerns.
Yeah.
Did that make sense, Nick?
Yeah, absolutely. I think for me, I'm just thinking like if I could say one thing is that we're all on different time schedules. Okay. Like we're not all meant to, finish a degree in 3 years, or we're not, I met a mum recently who's been working for 6 years to complete a degree. And you know what? And
Yeah.
that's okay. Like we're all on different schedules, we're all on different time schedules. And don't give up your dreams because you feel like you don't have time to do it, because whether it takes you 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, the ending's the same. Like we all get to the same point. So that would be my advice, is just don't give up your dreams. And if it takes you longer to get there, that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Took me 7 years to do my degree.
Yeah.
My bachelor's,
Yeah.
I
That's
was
what I mean.
raising children.
Yeah,
I
that's right.
got divorced within that time too. I had to process that and manage all of that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. And you know what? Sometimes our degrees lasted longer than our marriages when you think about it. Like we still have the degrees. That's the main thing. So, all right. Well, I think that's the end of today's podcast, but I feel like it's been a really good one, because I feel like out of all of our podcasts that we put out, this has been the one that we've had the most engagement, people coming and telling us their stories and wanting us to share what they've been going through. And we really appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I hope everyone gets something out of it, even if it's just enjoying the conversation. But we just really wanted to touch on some of the areas, and we did just touch slightly. So we do always ask people, if you want to share, if you want to just add a comment, if you want to correct us in some area, please let us know. Your input is so valuable.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Or if you want to come on and tell your story too,
Yeah.
like we're always open to that. And also send us a message if you're listening to this podcast, because you have no idea how excited Deb and I get when we get a random message from someone that says, hey, I was listening to you in the car on the way to work, or it makes us feel like our message is being received.
Yeah, we're contributing. So thank you, guys.
So thank you for that. And have a good week, and we'll see you for the next episode. And the topic will be released, I guess, sometime this week. Deb, we'll sit down.
Yeah, let's have we've got a few things. So we want to just sort of think about what would resonate with our listeners.
Yeah.
And Nicole will share that with you during the week. Thanks, guys.
All right. Bye, guys.
See you.
She's the one behind the scenes, holding up the broken dreams, wiping tears they never see, lost in the shadows of who she used to be. Does mom have a name? Does she have a face? And she's the one behind